morning, everyone. I would invite you to rise in body or in spirit and turn in the gray hymnal to number 297 for the words to our opening hymn. That number was 297. Those of you who read music, however, may notice that the tune in front of you does not line up with the tune you're hearing from Allison. We'll be singing the words to number 297, but to a more familiar tune, Oh Wally Wally. So trust your eyes for the words and your ears for the music, and we'll all get there together. The star of truth but dimly shines behind the veiling clouds of night, but every searching eye divines some partial glimmer of its light, the certainty for which we crave, no mortal ones can ever know. Uncharted waters we must brave and face whatever winds may blow. Though for safe harbor we may long, we must not let our courage fail. And though the winds of doubt blow strong upon the trackless ocean sail, from honest doubt we shall not flee, nor fetter the inquiring mind, for where the hearts of all are free, a truer faith we there shall find. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. My name is Arika Lycan, and I'm happy to be here with you today. Wherever you may be joining us from, whether it's in person here or virtually from elsewhere out of state or beyond, we bid you warm greetings as we enter this time of being together. Our congregation has been rooted in Washtenaw County since our founding in 1865, serving as a progressive voice and presence locally and nationally in bringing alive a justice-oriented faith that supports us in living to our highest potential, both as individuals and as a community. If you're a newcomer to our community or have recently joined us, please know that you're very, very welcome here. Join us after the service to connect with other new folks and friendly UUAA members. In person in the Redmond Room, if you're new, please join us after the service. The Redmond Room is just out the doors to your left. If you're live streaming, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And please know on demand, if you're tuning in live, that you can reach any member of the staff team to learn more about UUAA through our website and other means. There's a newcomer survey as well at uuaa.org/newcomersurvey. And finally, you can email membership@uuaa.org. Lots of ways to be in touch. I'm excited to share that directly after this service is UUAA's Social Justice Fair today. This is an event designed for you to learn about the activities and engage with UUAA's social justice groups. We have over 12 groups in presence today, and these groups focus on many issues across our community, from providing safe and affordable housing to improving criminal justice system to helping us excel as environmental stewards and more. Again, there's 12 groups to visit with today, and there are opportunities to meet just about every interest. Come and talk with folks about the work and getting involved, grab a snack, and take some more information about how you can get engaged. In addition, UUAA is pleased to announce that we will be hosting Dr. Paula Cole-Jones in October. Dr. Jones is a UU leader who's served extensively in our movement, including as a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Article II Commission and as an author and editor as well, and as a diversity and change management consultant. During the weekend of October 14th and 15th, Dr. Jones will be leading several small group opportunities, as well as Sunday worship with us here at UUAA. Please see the announcement slides, as well as your recent weekly e-news for more information. As we move further together in our time today, we will be navigating and considering themes of uncertainty, solidity, and change. As we delve into and explore these topics together, may we center the strength and support that we gain from our shared community. We are gathered for worship.
Good morning. As we gather this morning, other Unitarian Universalists across the continent and even the world are also gathering, and as they do so and as we do so, we take a moment to light our chalice this morning. The chalice, a living flame reminding us of the spark of love, of caring and compassion that resides inside each and every one of us and its potential to be a force of good in the world. The light, the spark of wisdom, of insight that comes alive and deepens within community with one another as we sharpen our ideas and perspectives through relationship with others. It's in that spirit of honoring the lighting of our chalice. Paul Alinsky will be helping us with the lighting this morning. If you're joining us online, we invite you to take out your chalice if you have one near you and go ahead and light yours at home with us. And as you do so, you can put into the chat, the chalice is lit wherever you may be located. For those of us gathered in the sanctuary in person this morning, I invite you to now let us join our hearts as well as our voices as we say together in unison the familiar words of our chalice lighting. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Paul. Ours is also a community that is bound together not by any expectation that we all adhere to the same set of beliefs, be they philosophical, theological, or otherwise. Rather, we promise to journey together with one another in community, supporting each other and living into our fullest selves, discovering what it means to be human more deeply together and individually. We offer that expression of mutual care and support to one another through the words of our covenant. I invite us now to join together once again, our hearts and our voices, as we say together our words of covenanting. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, for search for truth and love, and to help one another. May it always be so.
Picture this. Your life, it feels solid, smooth, predictable. Everything is in its right place, and oh, it feels good. You've got yourself a routine that's comfortable and familiar and calm. And then suddenly, you find yourself all out of whack, topsy-turvy, and upside down. Has this ever happened to you? Well, our story for all ages this morning tells the tale of a little girl named Tilda, whose world goes off kilter. Thankfully, she finds inspiration in a resilient ladybug. Tilda tries again. Words and pictures by Tom Percival. Tilda's world was just as she liked it. She had her friends, her books, and her toys. Everything was just right. Until one day, Tilda's world turned upside down. All of a sudden, everything was topsy-turvy, and nothing felt right anymore. Things that had once seemed simple now felt incredibly difficult. Tilda didn't feel like seeing her friends. In fact, she didn't feel like doing anything. Everything just seemed too hard. Eventually, Tilda gave up and decided to do nothing. Then, one day, Tilda saw a ladybug stuck on its back. Its tiny legs waggled in the air. "Poor little thing," she said, "you're all topsy-turvy, just like me." As Tilda tried to work out how to help, the ladybug wriggled and struggled. It was no use. Tilda's heart sank. But then, the ladybug tried again, and again, and again, until at last, it flew free. Tilda thought about this. The ladybug hadn't given up, so neither would she. She found her toy blocks and tried building something. It worked. Tilda started to feel a bit better. After that, she tried reading her favorite funny book and laughed until her tummy ached. Then she went out to play in the yard. Everything still felt very strange, but Tilda tried her best. And the more Tilda tried, the more she found she could do. Although there was one thing that still felt too hard. Tilda paused at the edge of the park and watched her friends. She almost left. But then Tilda remembered the ladybug. Could she be brave? Could she keep trying? Tilda decided that she could, and it was the best decision she ever made. Even though her world was still a little topsy-turvy, Tilda felt she could cope. And because she felt she could cope, her world seemed less topsy-turvy. From that day on, whenever Tilda's world felt a little wobbly, she just tried her best. And if that didn't work, Tilda tried again. The end. You know what I think is super interesting about this story? We never actually know what it is that makes Tilda's world flip upside down. It doesn't tell us. Maybe it's something objectively huge and cataclysmic. In other words, a life-shattering event like a divorce or a move or somebody has died or there's a conflict of some kind. This at least makes sense, right? When things go haywire, we have a deep need to know why, to understand and to fix it. It might not make us feel better or make the situation easier, but at least it can help us make sense of our circumstances. And yet, there are those times when you go to bed feeling fine and everything is in its right place, and you wake up feeling upside down. Or a task that you've managed perfectly well in the past suddenly feels so overwhelming that you lose your balance. Those are the harder moments because they come out of nowhere and they can leave us feeling confused and afraid. Here's a question. Does Tilda's world go right side up again just as it was before? What do you think? Can you tell from the slides, from the pictures? It doesn't go quite right? What happens is there are still things that are upside down and topsy-turvy, but she adapts to it. She learns to be in this new world. Her world is irrevocably different, and she figures it out with the help of her friends and family and the resilient ladybug. Nothing ever stays the same. and things don't go back to the way they were, no matter how much we wish that could happen. And we've all had firsthand experience with this in the last few years. They never do. So we move forward. We learn how to navigate an uncertain path, and we find opportunities to grow and to thrive. And we do it together. And now is the time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. Kids, please stay together and follow the classroom signs with your teachers rather than running ahead. As our young people head out of the sanctuary with their adult leaders, I invite you to sing with love and tenderness.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
Once a month, this congregation partners with a local nonprofit organization and shares our offering with them. This month, we are honored to highlight the work of the Interfaith Hospitality Network at Alpha House. Please welcome Shonagh Taruza, the Executive Director of IHN, to our pulpit.
Thank you all for having me this morning. The Interfaith Hospitality Network, IHN, was formed by a group of 12 local congregations who saw the need for emergency family shelter and banded together to operate a rotating shelter. Families would move from church to church, a week or two at each location, and that was the best response that we could do at the time. You all were some of the founding members, one of the founding members of that rotating shelter. And eventually, we had the opportunity to move to a permanent location, which was the Alpha House on Jackson Road. And so we are now the Interfaith Hospitality Network at Alpha House. Being given that permanent site meant that we could expand the services we offer, and we incorporated different programs like our rapid rehousing program into what we offer our residents. From the beginning of our fiscal year in October last year, we have been able to shelter 69 individuals on Jackson Road. We've also been able to provide rent subsidies and case management to 60 families, 219 individuals out in the community through the rapid rehousing program. As you all probably are well aware of, we are in the middle of a terrible family homelessness crisis in Washtenaw County right now. And this is only expected to worsen over the winter months and in the years to come. Right now, there are 120 families in need of shelter in Washtenaw County. So because Alpha House has been operating as a shelter for over 30 years, the board and staff of Alpha House have realized that we really need to do something. Now is the time to draw on the experience, the expertise, the strong relationships we have, and figure out what we can do to help address this crisis. So right now we're in the middle of a strategic planning process. It's going to culminate in a strategic planning retreat in October, where we hope that we can figure out where Alpha House can go in the next 5 years, what we can do to address this crisis. You all, being founder members, have consistently supported us over all those years of our existence, and the help that you've provided through your time, volunteering, your financial contributions, and just the love that you've shown us has enabled us to be able to think big. And so I expect that at some stage I might be coming back here to visit with you and let you all know about some plans that we might have. But in the meantime, I want to thank you for all that you've done to support Alpha House and what you're doing today with the Share the Collection. We truly appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shonagh. As you heard, UUAA has a long history with IHN and a long history of volunteering at Alpha House. I invite you to visit the table in the social hall after the service. The first one on the left when you go in, Shonagh will be there and you'll be able to chat with her and ask some questions and learn more about Alpha House. For those of us who have steady housing, it may be hard to imagine the extent of instability and uncertainty that being unhoused brings to one's life. And then imagine that if you are a family. Circumstances can change in an instant, and what seemed to be a safe, secure, and stable situation is upended, as if someone shook the snow globe you were living in and all the pieces inside moved, not just the snow. If you are coming from a place of financial stability, I ask you to consider giving the most generous gift you can manage right now to support the work of IHN at Alpha House. Any amount you can give will be appreciated and will make a difference to families in need. In a moment, the ushers will come forward. If you are in the sanctuary, you may put cash or checks in the baskets. And wherever you are, you may also give online at uuaa.org/giving or text 73256 to UUAA. Please know that if you are new to us or just visiting, or you are in a tough spot financially, it's okay to let the baskets pass you by. Your presence here is your gift to us. The ushers will now come forward, and today's offering will be gratefully given and received, all in support of IHN. When the ushers are ready and you come forward, I ask you to rise in body or in spirit. as we take this moment to recognize this act of giving. It's a spiritual practice we engage in each week, and let it always be something that we engage with intention and compassion and gratitude. So if you would, please join me in saying the words we use to dedicate our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may have a seat. Will you join me now in a time of meditation? To begin, I invite you to imagine yourself at the center of a snow globe, perhaps one like this, but much bigger. Imagine yourself anchored, like the chalice is here, superglued in place. It's not going anywhere. Imagine the soles of your feet are solidly affixed to the foundation of your own personal snow globe. Breathe as is comfortable, recognizing this is different for each of us. And just be for a few moments. See if you can feel centered, solid, grounded, unwavering. Now, imagine your snow globe has just been shaken up, upended, upside down. You are surrounded by any manner of chaos, uncertainty, or loss. Perhaps you have no job, no home. You have lost a partner or sibling, a parent or child. A relationship has ended. Colleagues and friends have moved away. Change is everywhere you look. There are a multitude of thoughts swirling in your brain, moving way too fast, leading to stress or anxiety, even panic. But despite this turmoil, let us return to the feeling of being glued onto that foundation. Be still. Let the snow fall around you. Let the glitter settle. Let the chaos calm. Let the brain slow. Let your thoughts rest. Return from this time of settling. Take the time you need. Come with me now into this day and this week and all the months ahead. Find hope in the grounded, centered place you have within you and in the place you occupy in this beloved community. Even when you feel hope is hard to find, know deeply in your bones that we can move together, dream together, above all sing together to find that hope. We'll sing a song of love, and all will be well. Amen.
It can be so hard to be in something that feels like a snow globe. Turned upside down, shaken up. Things swirling about. We're not sure what's going to happen next. That which was familiar suddenly seems clouded, uncertain, different. And yet, the meditation we just engaged in is a reminder that even when we are encountering such cloudiness or uncertainty or something that's different, even colorfully different, beautifully different, we can return to the things that we know are solid, unshakable. I just had a week in which I was reminded of this in very tangible ways. In conversations, in multiple conversations with folks that were close to me. And it was related to a beautiful event that we love in our community. I don't know how many of us attended Friday Fun Night or had a chance to go. If you're not familiar with the event, it is a beloved event in our community. Intergenerational, multi-generational. We get together once a month on a Friday night. We have a shared meal together. You often wind up being seated during that time with folks you may not know yet. And you get to make some new friends and get to learn about other people in our community. And then there's shared and parallel activities that occur afterwards. Our inaugural Friday Fun Night, the first one of the new congregational year, was this past Friday. And just a couple of days beforehand, now, most of us know we're in the middle of a staffing transition. We have a staffing gap for the current time, and it was a staff role that played critical support functions in making this event happen. So unsurprisingly, a couple of days beforehand, in the middle of a staffing transition or a staffing gap, the first conversation unfolds in which it becomes clear that many things that would perhaps be figured out or set or certain volunteers in place, and those things weren't in place. And then the anxiety and the uncertainty and the fear emerged, and in the middle of that, the questions of, can we still do this event? Maybe we can't do this event. Maybe we shouldn't do this event, and maybe we don't know how to do this event. And I found myself saying something in response. I said, we can trust our community. Our community is trustworthy. And I didn't have just one, I had two conversations about the same event, and they went the same way. And the second time I started to say, our community is trustworthy, we can trust, I found myself getting really choked up because I could feel how deeply I meant that. And I said side by side, I don't actually know how any of this is going to come together because it sounds almost impossible right in the moment, but I know it will. I absolutely know it will because our community loves this event. It's beloved to us. It's absolutely going to come together, and I don't know how. And I had to say, let me tell you what I mean by trustworthy. It's in a way, yes, trust in that interpersonal one-on-one sense, but it's something more. It's that plus. And the plus part is, and I'm sure what I'm going to say is not unfamiliar, we have all known contexts where in community, in workplaces, in families, when the unexpected thing happens, when something goes awry, when something isn't coming together in that perfect way, where all the jigsaw puzzle pieces are already perfectly aligned, what can happen? Recrimination, blame. Well, who dropped the ball? Who effed up? Whose fault is it we weren't looking far enough ahead to have all the jigsaw puzzle pieces perfectly connected? And when I say trustworthy, that we are trustworthy, I mean also that this is a community where we don't do that. Sure, we're human, just as any other human society and human place. Yeah, you hear a little bit of that every now and again. But it's not, by and large, the way our community moves together and who we are together. Absolutely not. When we hear that our community needs something, we show up. And the question is, how can I help? What can I do to make it better? What's needed? Let me know. Let me see what I can do. Consistently, I have seen this I'm now beginning our 6th year of ministry together. In the 5+ years we've been together, I've seen this over and over again. Despite the fact that it is so common in other settings and other places for human beings to go to blame and recrimination, in such circumstances, we turn to compassion and mutual support over and over again. I don't take this for granted. I don't, and you shouldn't either. I got teared up the second time I had this conversation because I know many of you know me as somebody who's deeply caring, as somebody who tries to be as open-hearted as possible. And I trust slowly. I'm careful. Sure, at that superficial level, everybody's basically trustworthy, but that's a soft, shallow trust. The deep in your bones, like this is trustworthy, that's a really big deal for me to say that and feel that. And you need to keep in mind my life journey, my life context to understand how much of a big deal that is and why. I'm a gay man of color who came out of the closet at the age of 20 at a time where nothing that surrounded me was trustworthy. I couldn't trust anything around me to hold that. My needs, my lived reality, my circumstances, my life experience, not family of origin, not the schools I attended, not the workplaces I worked in, certainly not the broader society. This was well before non-discrimination in places of employment was a realistic conversation, let alone marriage equality. This was a time in which gay men were dying of AIDS, and if not that, getting their heads bashed in on the streets. So no, there wasn't a lot that was trustworthy. Many of us felt like we were just trying to survive and stay alive, while everything around us didn't care whether we did or not. So I was choking back tears as I said, with such deep conviction to a beloved and community, that like UUAA, this community is so trustworthy. I know we will figure out what needs to happen. I don't know how, but I know we will. And guess what we did? It was a fabulous Friday fun night. And if you've never been, you should come. You should really come. Bring the whole family, or grandkids, or stepkids, or godchildren. Bring everybody. Neighbors, friends, it's fun. So at the beginning of this year of six together, sixth year of community, how has that time flown? It has flown by, hasn't it? It's a common practice in both the religious profession and in Unitarian Universalism that religious leaders such as myself, we get periods of sabbatical for the purposes of rest and spiritual renewal. And that time for me is not immediate. It starts in November, but soon. And it will be true during that time of sabbatical that things are going to be different. I won't be here, not with you during that time. That alone is different. You might miss me. I'm realizing this morning that I'm really going to miss you all. And we've lined up some really beautiful support for you, for the community during that time. Reverend Theresa, actually, aside from me, 5 other clergy people will be supporting the community together during that time. Can you imagine? 5 human beings. Reverend Theresa Rohlck will continue her role on our staff team. We appreciate that immensely, Reverend Theresa's beautiful gifts. Some of you have had the chance to work already with Reverend Amber Beeland, who will be, her role will be adjunct minister for Pastoral Care, supporting our Pastoral Care program during that time. Some of you on Sunday mornings have seen my colleague, Reverend Eric Hausman. He will be adjunct minister for worship, supporting our worship services during that time. Another clergy person by the name of Reverend David Pyle, my colleague in Unitarian Universalism, who is a Unitarian Universalist kind of regional official. He'll be supporting key folks in our leadership, providing some advice, feedback, coaching as helpful and needed and wanted. And then today in person, we have my dear colleague and a friend, Reverend Kimberley Debus. Reverend Kimberley will hold the title of sabbatical minister, and she'll be working personally with all of the groups, and it's quite a few, that I work with one-on-one very closely. She'll be functioning in that capacity with the lay teams that I work with and with the staff teams and the staff members that I work with. In addition, she'll also be periodically in our worship services as she is today. We have a robust plan for the months ahead, starting in November. I already know that it will be a good time. It will be a meaningful time. Because I know our spirit. I've had a chance to figure out and feel who we are. I know who we are. It's going to be fine. And it's going to be different. And I want to invite you to just hold those two things together side by side with me, if you would, for just a few moments.
I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within. So I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. It is such a blessing that I get to hold you in love for 5 months. Of course, I hold you in all of our congregations in love all the time, but for the 5 months, the sabbatical, I am blessed to focus on holding you specifically in love. And now that may seem a bit odd to say, because with a few notable exceptions, I'm only just meeting you this weekend, and you are only just meeting me, and I'm not entirely sure love at first sight happens when a congregation meets a minister. I mean, will you like me? Will you appreciate me? Will you grow to trust me when you don't even know me? I'm reminded of the first stanza of American poet William Stafford's piece, A Ritual to Read Each Other. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. I, for one, don't want us to miss our star, the star that keeps us on the path of goodness and belonging and inclusion and connection. And given that we only have a few short months together, months that will fly by the way. So let me tell you some things about me. So, despite my living in the DC metro area, I am a New Yorker through and through. But not quite that kind of New Yorker. While I did my seminary training in New York City, I grew up in an old farmhouse in the country outside of Albany, New York, the unexpected last child of parents who thought that their 2 teens had completed the family unit. My world was filled with beauty and music and books, so many books, and a perhaps not so surprising affection for Borscht Belt comedy. For those who don't know, this is the comedy that sprung up in the Catskills in the 40s and 50s. Perhaps the most familiar line from it is, "Hello, Mudda, hello, Fada," right? But the unwritten memoir of my life takes me through all of the failures and successes of life lived, through romance and excitement and tragedy and struggle and joy. I could organize the books through the places I have lived, or the cats who have owned me, or, well, perhaps most accurately, the musicals I've been obsessed with. Right now it's Hadestown, way down under the ground. And I could go on and on and on and on. But ultimately, it's the many, many things, the interests, the experiences over the years that actually led to my answering the call to ministry. A call that is about love and compassion and beauty and truth and healing and celebration. A call that is about saying yes to possibility, yes to belonging, yes to life, yes to love. And it is that call that brings me time and time again to our congregations, to the love I feel for these amazing outposts of healing and hope. Now, I call myself a community minister What that really means in corporate parlance is I'm a consultant, meaning I don't work for one congregation or organization, but rather I work with congregations and religious professionals throughout Unitarian Universalism, often in the worship arts, but also in leadership, membership, stewardship. And it is this focus that draws me towards sabbatical ministries, such as this one. I get a chance to come down from my bird's eye view, swoop in and learn about and learn from and share the goodness of a congregation. Somebody in a meeting yesterday called me a pollinator. I am a bit like a bee, dipping in, picking up things, and then there's sweetness. So I've done sabbatical coverages like this in Nantucket, in Oneonta, New York, Kennebunk, Maine, White Plains, New York, where, of course, the last month of the sabbatical was March of 2020. And then recently in Manassas, Virginia. In all of them, I discover a joyfulness around supporting their settled minister and an excitement of somebody new holding them with new ideas and a different voice. And there's also a bit of trepidation. Some are terribly nervous because of hard experiences with previous sabbaticals or with never having experienced one. Others still are okay with it, but cautiously optimistic. And that's okay. You have been rock steady with Reverend Manish since before the pandemic, and certainly during it. And this is a shift. The ground is shaking slightly, and things in the snow globe aren't quite as clear as they were. And it's not that you have a lack of trust of Manish or the other ministers and staff, but it is a shift. And there are some new faces that aren't part of that rock-steady story you know to be true. And so you may be a little curious and a little anxious about what will bubble up. The truth is, things will bubble up. Whether it's your own anxiety or something feeling off in the system, things will happen. So will the unexpected. And largely probably be small, like those stinking molehills that crop up on your lawn, right? Like they always do. But whenever the unexpected happens, I work with staff and leaders to calmly manage the pastoral and logistical needs until your ministers return. Now, of course, my hope is that there won't be any big surprises during our 5 months together. But even though a molehill may trip us up, we'll help to remember that we can do this together. Now, that does require a bit of what I think of as unearned trust, because you don't know me well. But maybe it will help to remember that I am also in fellowship with and have a relationship of support and trust and love with your senior minister and with Theresa. And while Manish is on a well-earned sabbatical, we get to lean into the covenant of our faith, our commitments to weather the storm together and share the work. Yeah, we'll do that here. Although, you are so rock steady, I suspect those molehills will more likely be those places where your cleats dug into the soil as you ran the ball down the field for a touchdown. Okay, it's rare for me, a sports metaphor, but there's, I don't know, something about this place. But it's not just those kinds of worries, the issues or conflicts that might arise. Perhaps the biggest thing is that you will miss Manish, and not just his kindness and warmth and his inspiring and passionate spiritual leadership, but also his mental agility and his emotional capacity to hold and guide you when the unexpected happens. And that's good. So good that you have Manish as your senior minister, so of course you'll miss him. But in true Mishra-Marzetti fashion, he's put a plan in place to ensure that you will still experience kindness, warmth, support, inspiring and passionate spiritual leadership, and someone to hold and guide you when the unexpected happens. Now, I'm clearly not Manish. In all the best possible ways, he is one of a kind. And I'm not here to replace him. Rather, I'm here to hold his ministry while he gets some much needed rest and rejuvenation. I get the enormous privilege of holding his ministry and holding you in my own way, with kindness and humor, and curiosity and tenderness, and a deep admiration of our religious professionals, and a deep commitment to the health and well-being of our congregations. That means you. And best of all, don't tell him. To scratch the itch of missing Manish, we will plot some delightful and fun mischief for his return. Don't tell him, it's a secret. And still, there may be some hesitancy as we enter the sabbatical period. Will things change? Will you change? Will he change? What will change? What is change? Will we be okay? I think these few minutes in, you now know me well enough to know that I'm about to tell you, yes, it will be okay. Because as Manish has written in a gorgeous poem I've used countless times, the ground shifts, sometimes slowly. Nothing is static. But while we don't expect the congregation's way of being to change significantly, even the small shifts, planned or unplanned, are actually okay. Although they can sometimes be a bit of a bother. It's a bit like road work. Okay, let me explain. In the 48 hours or so that I've been here in Ann Arbor, I've noticed that you have a lot of roundabouts. Now, while circles are nothing new in Metro DC, they were less common where I moved from in upstate New York. I was living just north of Albany and just south of Saratoga, where the thoroughbred racetrack is. The two main routes up from Albany are Route 9, which runs along the Hudson into the Adirondacks, and then the Northway, which runs all the way up to Montreal. In Malta, where I lived, Route 9 and the Northway are about a half mile from each other, connected by Route 67. The intersections are full of businesses that support the town and travelers needing food and gas off the exit, which means there's a lot of traffic and more than a few accidents at the various intersections. So some smart folks at the New York State Department of Transportation determined that the way of the future was roundabouts. These traffic circles mean a few more fender benders, but significantly fewer fatal or near fatal accidents. So this section of 67 became a testing ground in New York State for sequential roundabouts, which of course meant construction and traffic pattern shifts, and then circles and more circles, circles upon circles, circles not just on 67 but on Route 9 as well. In the most dense section of roundabouts, there are 7 circles in less than a mile. From above, it looks like an alien landing strip. Now, some of these roundabouts, you wonder, did we really need them all? But we needed them, even though the regular intersections seem to be doing just fine. The town of Malta is growing with new major businesses and more traffic than ever. And while it was a pain during construction, with the endless traffic pattern shifts and then the inevitable teaching people how to drive on roundabouts, the DOT's planning and agility worked. The routes to get here from there are basically the same, but there's much less congestion and many fewer accidents. And now the circles are almost a point of pride. Malta is still Malta, a little different for the experience, yet still grounded in its small town identity. So a sabbatical period is one of temporary shifts and patterns. And that's a good thing. I mean, it doesn't change everything. You remain essentially the same. But sabbaticals create some shifts to allow for time of reflection, examining what you took for granted or what you never really noticed before. I hope you approach this shifting time with curiosity. I hope you discover some new way of thinking about yourself, your spirit, this congregation, and the world. I hope you continue to grow and stretch, both as individuals and as a congregation. And whatever the events that tell the story of these 5 months, the joys and the sorrows, the heartaches, the celebrations, the tragedies, even the unexpected events and the occasional molehill, this congregation will remain steady as the chalice in our snow globe. How do I know this? Because I know that you face the fear and tragedy and change and uncertainty of those first few months of the pandemic, and you are still steady and strong, maybe even stronger. And honestly, if you can do March of 2020, you can do anything. You do, in fact, have infinite capacity to do what's needed, to welcome what's next with an attitude of possibility, to engage your hearts and minds with generosity, to hold each other through the unexpected, to hold each other in love. You have infinite capacity, and I am here with you, sending you light. I walk the path with you. Go slow, dear ones, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need for worry, 'cause I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love.
I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and turn in the teal hymnal to number 1021 for the singing of Lean on Me, hymn number 1021. Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me and lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Beloveds, take a minute to breathe in the amazing love and care of who and what we are together in community. The fact that this is a place and a people that we can rely on, that is trustworthy. A place where we don't have to carry any of our loads by ourselves. That we know there is moral support, practical support, shoulders to touch, and when needed, lean on. Hold that in your heart. Know that you are cheered on and encouraged in being the very best version of yourself that you can be until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace. Amen.